How's it going, guys? Odds and Ends RC here. If you like what you see today, please like and subscribe. Today we're going to be making some super scale shocks for the RC4WD Trailfinder 2. These will only work on leaf spring vehicles because they do not support the vehicle. They do not have a spring in them. Usually on the stock Trailfinder 2 shocks, I take the springs out anyway, because the leaf springs are already too stiff. But anyway, I was always looking for something that looked a little better. These are the shocks that comes with the Trailfinder 2. I got these red boots on there, but you get the idea. They're about 10 or 11 millimeters thick. And I know you can only make something so small and it still worked, but it was too fat. I just didn't like the looks of it. And I got the give me the idea. I bought this steering stabilizer. You can see it here. This guy here goes up to your servo. I had bought that, and after staring at it for a while, I thought, man, I can make a shock out of that. So went ahead and mocked it up and tried it out, and it looks pretty damn good. Works as it should. You know, even on the real Rancho shock, your little boot there is going to bundle up like that. Normally, even just sitting in normal ride height, they're kind of jumbled up like that, but that kind of bothers my OCD, so I kind of set it to where it's not jumbled up looking, but I think it looks pretty good compared to the silver ones it comes with. These are they're about 7 millimeters thick, so they look a little more scale. You know, they're probably still bigger than what a real one would be scaled down, but definitely had the look I was going for. And this, I think will work out great on this truck build I've been doing here lately. So to make these, there really isn't much to them. You do need a donor set of RC four-wheel drive, shocks, the scale shocks that it comes with. But basically, you buy this. This is their steering stabilizer little deal. I think it goes up to 70 millimeter or something like that, but it doesn't really matter for our application. But the main thing that I wanted I can't buy anywhere is this skinnier rubber boot. I could have probably made these out of just rod links if I had some of these boots laying around, but I pretty much had to buy the whole kit just to get the boots. But either way, here's the part number on that, Z-S1949, and they're about, I think I got these for about $13 a piece off of eBay, so they're about the same price as a regular shock. But like I said, again, this is only for a leaf spring suspension and kind of a super scale setup. You know, if you got a rig that you go out and beat the hell out of every day, probably not for that. It's kind of more for the shelf queen or, just your ultimate scale driver. But let's get this out of the package here. Get your stickers. Get the stabilizer itself. Get your rod ends and your little boot. Take this guy out of the bag here. Now see, this comes with this rod fixed, screwed into the end of it. It does not move in and out. It's fixed. It's threaded in there. So to begin, let's take this out. And for my application, I don't even use this. This screws apart here like that. And if you need a longer, in a longer application, like a 90 millimeter shock or something like that, leave this piece on there. but you will have to drill this hole out in the end. It's a 3mm threaded hole, so I think you can use about a 8mm or 1/8 inch drill bit. You just have to test it and try it, but you'll have to drill that out for the shaft to slide through. But like I said, in my application, I don't use it. Okay, you take your shock that comes with your kit, and like I said, when I bought this kit, that's the first thing I do is I take the springs out. I don't use the springs in them. But you'll screw the end off of it. Sometimes these are thread locked on, and you'll kind of have to hold the shaft with some pliers or something to get this to break loose and come off. Keep that around. We'll be reusing that. Take that off. And take your top off. Sometimes it can be a little tight too. Ooh, that was pretty tight. Take that off. You're going to take your shaft. You're going to push your shaft all the way through. Take something, kind of poke it through. That. And the shaft comes out. Okay, on this shaft, there's a little white piston deal. That's what kind of slides up and down inside the tube. And there's a little tiny circlip holding that on. We're going to take that circlip and pop it off. And it's probably going to go flying across the room and you'll never see it again, but we won't be needing it anymore. See if I can do this. Whoop. Can be challenging. Almost. Once you get it close, you probably take something pointy. Funnier than that. Try to get the rest of the way off. Cooperating. Finally. All right, got that clip off there. Take the little plastic piston deal off. This pops off there. All right, so this is the shaft we're going to be using inside of here. See how it slides in and out of there like that? Slides in and out real smooth. Works great. Depending on, like I said before, depending on your application, if you want to run the white, I have one already drilled out here. The white piece on there to have a little bit longer shock. Drill that hole out. And it works just the same. But for my application, I didn't need that. So in your stabilizer kit, you get rod ends and a couple of grub screws. We're going to take the grub screw and your end you removed off of the shock. I use one of them. Screw that in your grub screw like that. Then we take that screw it into the top of the shock here. And you probably need to Loctite these, a little bit of blue Loctite, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to wait on that. All right, so you got one end done. Now on the other end, like if you got a bunch of these shocks laying around like I do, I probably got 30 of these things laying around. You can use, if you have extra little silver rod ends, you can use that on the end of that shaft if you want. But I found that the provided little plastic black ones, that the rubber boot ends up sliding on it and fitting tighter than it does on the metal one. I'll show you when I'm done. But you're going to take the shaft and hold it with something on the end you took the piston off of. And you take your rod end, carefully thread it on there. Be a little tricky toward the end. Sometimes they'll go a little crooked, but you get the idea. This one's a little crooked. I think it'll work. All right, so we got that on there. You can see that's going to fit in there like that. Slide in and out. And this actually has the same, that was a 75mm donor shock I used. And it actually has the same, if not a little bit more travel than it had. So it works out perfect. For some reason, if you needed more travel yet, you can take and cut some of these threads off there or grind them all off. That'd give you an extra 1/4 inch if you needed it. But for my purposes, it works out perfect. All right, then we take our boot here. And I had to trim the boot. I had already made one of these, as you've seen. But I had to trim it as it was a little bit long. I'll slide that boot on there. We're just going to check it. This all depends on what kind of application you're needing, how long. Kind of work that boot on there. I'll have to end up trimming it anyway. And this will slide in there like that. And kind of work that other end of the boot onto the black rod in there. Be a little tricky, but it's doable. Okay. Now, depending on what look you're going for me, the boot is too long because the truck's going to sit about like that. So the boot's going to be all squished down. And in real life, when you look at these things, these Rancho shocks, they're normally squished down like that anyway, but I don't like that look. So I'm going to cut some of these ribs off. I think on the other one, I cut about 4 of them off, and I was pretty close. But you don't want to cut too many off because you can't go back once you cut too many off. So pull that back off there. Take your pair of scissors. We'll start off with 3. I just kind of count the ditches here, or you want to cut it in the ditch. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, do a little bit at a time because you don't want to cut too much off. Okay. Slide that back in there. You can line the hole up. Now there's nothing to limit. Okay. Like that. Now there's nothing to, the shock goes in and out. There's nothing to limit the shock from pulling apart. You can grab it, just yank it right out of there. The only thing holding it in there is the boot itself. But on this, a leaf spring setup, the leaf spring's only going to droop down so far. It can't come out of there. It's only going to droop so far, so the shock can't come apart. So in this particular application, leaf spring vehicles are the only thing this will work on. But you just have to play with the length of your boot here, whatever you want. This is kind of about where I want it. Works out good. And then your last thing you need to do is put the sticker on there. Kind of whichever way it's going to be facing, kind of remember whichever you want it facing is where you want to put the sticker on it. The sticker is kind of gooey. I don't think I can put it best. So definite tweezers or a razor blade. It's about the best way you can put it on there. Get the lift. And this is going to be on the passenger side. Sit like that. So we're going to do it like that. Like I said, these stickers are kind of gooey, but I guess they do the job. Okay. Let me throw together the rest of them, put them on the vehicle, and then we'll have a finished shot of them. Alright guys, this is the finished product. Took a wheel off so you can kind of see it all hooked up and everything. And I am liking it. I think it looks pretty damn good. I got on my Fall Guy truck project here. I got a previous video on it, kind of going over it, and it's getting a longer bed in the process. Here's the back of it. Suspension works as it should. And they can't fall apart because the leaf springs won't allow them to come apart that far. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys find another way to improve upon them, let me know. But so far, I'm liking it. Keep an eye out for an upcoming video on this truck once I get all the paint work done and get it all finished. But thanks for watching.